Hey YouTube, what's going on guys? In today's video we're going to be going over how botting has changed in the last few years and just some of the top bots you're going to want to be running nowadays. As many of you guys have probably realized by now, Shopify has become one of the biggest bitches to have to deal with in the botting scene. It used to be one of the easiest to be able to get multiple pairs of shoes and be able to run tons of tasks. But nowadays, with a lot of the bot changes that have happened, from checkpoint captchas to queue handling to checkout captchas and proxy protection, on a lot of sites, it is by far one of the hardest sites to be able to target nowadays. Along with foot sites adding adyen in there, which has caused a lot of cancels for a lot of people, botting has significantly changed over the last year or two, and let's get into it. The first thing that you're going to need to be successful nowadays is going to be a good program. Whether this be Cyber, Kodai, Ganesh, or any of the other top bots that we're going to get into today, this is going to be your main cornerstone on which you build. After that, you're going to need good proxies and a solid cook group. The proxies that I use is going to be Oculus Premium DC, along with Space ISP and Origin for my Resi. For cook groups, I will be plugging our own Soul Premium. We do have our Twitter and our Instagram info below. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us there or leave a comment below. For cook groups, they should be providing high-speed monitors, release guides, early links, and variants for various sites, along with any botting support and any questions that you guys might have. After that, you're going to need a good server. Right now I use Project Flight, but I also hear 10x servers has been doing really well. We no longer use AWS or Google Cloud servers, as most of them are shared and do not perform nearly as well as any of the servers that I have listed below. So now let's get into the top bots in each platform. The first platform I'm going to talk about today is going to be Shopify. This is just due to it being one of the hardest sites to bot, and you do need a good program. Now I have compiled a list of the top 5 bots that I feel have been most consistent on this site. There are a lot of other bots out there that do well, but these are going to be your most consistent bots that you can buy. First is still going to be Cyber AIO. They've been doing amazingly well with a lot of the Shopify changes, from a safe preload, safe mode, and add to cart questionnaires, along with being able to find a lot of exploits to be able to help you out. After that is going to be BalcoBot. They've also been able to find a lot of exploits. They are an amazing restock tool and been destroying it on DSM. After that, I would give it to Wrath. They are an up-and-coming bot that has been doing well on Shopify, but I do feel needs more time to be able to say if they are in the 1 or 2 spot. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Nebula. They are also a very new bot that is amazing on restocks, such as sites like Kith. They continue to cancel a lot of pairs. They are able to scoop up a lot of the restocks, just like BalcoBot. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Nike ShoeBot, as been a consistent program. From its restock monitoring and a lot of its Shopify safe modes, it has continued to do well over the past few years. After that, let's get into foot sites. Foot sites, by far one of my favorite platforms to be able to bot on nowadays, due to the fact that we don't have to deal with captchas and you don't get a lot of cancels if you know what you're doing. Now, I have compiled a list of my top 5 bots of what I feel do well, and here let's get into them. So first is going to be Ganesh. It is by far one of the best bots that you can use for foot sites. Now, it does not have a graphical user interface such as bots like Cyber or Kodai or any of the other bots like that, but it is a client bot, which that does allow you to run a lot more tasks, and it has been doing extremely well on US foot sites. It did start in Foot Locker EU, it was amazing there. They did eventually add US foot sites and has done amazing on those, and they do plan to add sites such as Finish Line and JD Sports. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Kodai. It is an amazing bot for foot sites as well. They have added a PayPal bypass in there, which gets around adyen, so you can do multiple checkouts on cards and you don't get cancels, just due to the fact that it is a secure payment. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Toro. It is a new bot that has been coming up in the last few months. It has done extremely well on restocks, along with consistent initial checkouts, and it just destroyed foot sites lately. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Whatbot. Whatbot has been doing consistently well. They always do well, and they continue to get checkouts. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Cyber. Its module is pretty well. I wouldn't say it's in the best ones, and it does have some rough patches, but it does do well. Now, there are a lot of honorable mentions for foot sites, as there are a lot of programs that do have them, such as Balco and TKS, along with Phantom and a lot of other bots like those. I haven't added them in there. Phantom, I do believe, might creep up with its cookieless updates that it has pushed, but those are definitely by far my top 5 bots. The next platform that we're going to get into is going to be Supreme. So I made another top 5 list for the most consistent bots. So let's get into it. The first is definitely going to be Mech. It is by far the most consistent bot that you can get, especially for hype weeks such as box logos. They consistently hold it down and get multiple checkouts for users and have done extremely well over the last couple seasons. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Kodai. They've done extremely well as well with any of the Supreme changes that have been thrown during box logo weeks. They consistently get checkouts and hold it down on almost every other week. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Phantom, as it did amazingly well in this last couple seasons with box logos and a lot of the changes that they have added. It has been one of the up and coming bots. Now for 4th place, I do have 3 bots that I kind of put in this area. I gave it to Cyber, Vlox, and Toro. Toro did really well last year. They did not perform as well on box logo weeks. Same with Cyber, and I think Vlox did okay. But they each have their ups and downs, thus the reason they got the 4th place. Now for 5th, I did put 4 bots in here, just due to the fact that just like in 4th place, they have their hits, they have their misses, and they don't really deserve to be in those top couple spots. So for these ones, I did give it to CU, F3, Adept, and Nike Shoebot. So the last platform that we're going to talk about today is going to be Yeezy Supply and Adidas. So the best bot that you're going to be able to get for this one is going to be Polaris. It is an amazing bot, holds consistent checkouts, and was the first bot to be able to add an advanced bypass for the queue to get a lot of your tasks through to get you a lot more checkouts, especially in that early stage when a lot of the smaller sizes are still in stock. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Phantom. It did eventually add the same type of queue bypass for it as well, and has been consistently doing well for holding checkouts down on Yeezy Supply for me, rather than getting declines. Now the next bot I'm going to have to give it to is going to be Splash Force. It has done extremely well over the past few years, but has had some struggle patches in the last couple of drops, getting a lot of declines, and just not performing as well as some of the other bots, but it is still a consistently good bot and does bring a lot of checkouts for a lot of people. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Nike Shoebot. For an AIO bot, it is amazingly well, especially for these sites. It does well on Adidas and on Yeezy Supply, and consistently gets users checkouts. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Toro and then Kodai for the 5th spot. Toro did a really well in the Zion's drop, but I do feel it needs to have a couple more drops before I give it a solid place in this list. And then after that, I'm going to have to give it to Kodai. It does need a lot of work in this area for Adidas and Yeezy Supply. It has struggled. It does get checkouts. It does usually get me a couple every drop, but it is not consistently well compared to these other ones. Now, I do have a couple other bots that we can go and talk about. Let's get into them. So the last bots that we're going to talk about today are just going to be either foot sites bots or Shoe Palace, or just kind of other sites that we didn't really get a touch on too much, or just didn't fit in that list yet. First is going to be Palace bot. It is amazingly well, as a lot of you guys have seen. For Shoe Palace, it does extremely well and gets tons of checkouts. After that, I'm going to give it to Hi-Ha. I believe I said that right. It does amazingly well on Shoe Palace as well, consistently gets users multiple checkouts, and is an up-and-coming bot that I do believe will do well in the next coming years. After that, I'm going to have to give it to Galaxy.io. It destroyed Finish Line and JD Sports. It has started to slow down just a little bit, but I do hear they are planning on adding a lot of US foot sites and working on that module again, so I do believe this is going to be an amazing bot as well. Rush has been amazing on Finish Line and JD as well. It does consistently well and gets users a lot of checkouts. Now next, we're going to touch on a little bit of mesh sites. So I have Hawk Mesh, which has been amazingly well and been king for mesh sites. When they do restock, they do end up taking stock. Now next is going to be a program that our Cook Group is actually developing, Mothy. It is actually a mesh bot and does extremely well. Has competed with Hawk Mesh on a lot of the drops and a lot of the restocks for our users. It is still in an early beta stage and we're still working on it, but it is proving to have a lot of success so far. Now after that, I'm going to kind of touch on a little bit of Frenzy. Now they do have a couple projects that I would like to just kind of touch on real quick, would be Mango Frenzy, Shark Frenzy, and Project Frenzy. They do well. Once again, not my favorite site to bot, but those programs do consistently bring a lot of users checkouts. So that is the end of my list. If you guys have any bots that you guys would like me to do reviews on, if you guys would like me to kind of go on a list for like the proxies like we did for these bots on just what ones are better for what sites, which ones I feel do consistently well, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much.